Hey, what is up, woodchoppers? Welcome to the final video of the Zeppy New Year, brought to you by Finesse Muse and Suzanne Lash. As I've said before, two of the very early supporters of the channel, who I'm very grateful to. So this one is a big one. We're going to get straight into it with minimal stops, just for a couple of probably observations here and there, because it's already quite a long video. And it is the genius of Stairway to Heaven, why John Bonham's drumming made Stairway to Heaven legendary. As I've said, I have done a drum cover of this. I think I need to do an updated drum cover of this because I'll be able to do a much better job now. And I'm a bit more savvy with the recording, because I think when I recorded this, I literally only just started recording and it was a little bit of a mess. So I might have to do another one of it. Guys, this is a Drumeo video. I will link to the original video in the description so you can check that out without me making my observations. And if you would like a free 30-day trial with Drumeo, hit my link, 30 days free to check out the Drumeo site and see if it's a good fit for you and your musical education. With that said, let's check it out. I'm excited.
Everything about that song is kind of perfect.
Maybe the most legendary rock song of all time.
It's cool, it's groovy, it's #1, the Led Zeppelin.
And the sound of rock and roll changed forever.
He was an integral part of Led Zeppelin, not just a drummer.
He actually hit the drums harder than any other drummer has ever hit them.
I think the lasting quality of this music over all these years is the fact...
Controversial take. I don't agree with that. I actually don't think he hit the drums overly hard. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that during the video.
that everyone's playing so honestly.
He was amazing, John Bonham.
What I'd learnt about John Bonham, that he could be really effective if he came in somewhere down the line on the song.
When he finally does enter, it's so satisfying.
What he played, it was absolutely the perfect part.
John Bonham could play the drums with surprising sophistication or deceptive simplicity, but he always hit with such force that he left audiences stunned.
I was keen to do something which had an...
Don't get me wrong. Again, we are going to get into this, I think. I'm not saying John Bonham hit light. I just think he hits at the right volume. I don't know how big a guy he is. Maybe he's a big guy, and when people saw him, especially in person, it felt really, really powerful. You don't get that with like a big guy like a Larry London or something where it's just like, ugh. But I don't see him as a basher at all. He just hits the drums in the sweet spot perfectly. Anyway.
Acceleration to it.
Certain things, you need that natural push and pull.
There's a good reason why Stairway to Heaven is considered one of the greatest rock songs ever written. It's powerful, dynamic, and packed with emotion. But here's the thing, while most people talk about the guitar solo or the mystique of the lyrics, it's John Bonham's drumming that really gives Stairway its momentum and energy. It's true he holds off for over 4 minutes, but when the drums enter, the entire song changes. His playing isn't just about keeping time. It's about feel, space, and power. Wow, Bonham knows exactly when to stay out of the way and when to unleash those huge drum fills and grooves that have inspired drummers for generations. Join us as we dive into the genius of Stairway to Heaven. In late 1970, after a relentless run of tours and recording, Led Zeppelin took a break from the chaos and retreated to Headley, Grange to work on their 4th record.
It was a very inspired time for all of us at the time that we were living in the Headley Grange as a residence, eating, sleeping, making music. That's what we were doing day after day after day.
Around this time, something big was happening in the music world. Listeners weren't just tuning in for the next catchy single anymore. After bands like the Beatles defined what pop and rock could be, audiences were craving more.
Do you think as musicians you'll be able to last as long as 8 years? Do you think you'll be inventive enough? I don't think I could hum any of your stuff.
No, but I think it's changing. That's the main thing, you see. I think that's why the awards have changed, because the kids are changing for a start. I think that they're coming to listen to what you're playing and not just to look at you and see what you are.
When the band started working on Stairway...
This is so interesting, and we've gone back, haven't we? Because now, it was like here, people wanted more depth. I'm not saying the Beatles didn't have depth, but the songs were relatively short, right? Pop songs. This is not pop music. This is like an exploration, right? As we know, songs are much longer, but now I feel like, well, at least in pop, I mean, the songs, you get songs under 2 minutes without any instruments on them as well. Well, that's another thing, but don't get me started.
Stairway to Heaven, they weren't trying to write the greatest rock song of all time.
They
just wanted to try
venue.
something new, something that would unfold slowly and build over time.
The idea of Stairway was to have the composition whereby it would just keep unfolding into more layers.
One of the main instruments that gives the song its unique folk feel at the start actually wasn't even planned.
That was an idea of John Paul Jones's, to put the recorders on, and he played the recorders. When I actually had the idea for Stairway, I wasn't thinking recorders, I was thinking more the texture of actually the electric piano.
It gives it a really ethereal, almost Celty sort of Robin Hood kind of old but timeless kind of feel. Robin Hood. It's the best.
A big part of what makes this song so powerful isn't just the music, it's the lyrics. They dive into themes like fate, choice, and destiny. And over time, those lyrics have taken on a deeper meaning, especially for Robert Plant.
My contribution was to write lyrics and to sing a song about fate and something very British. But they were coming out of the mind of a 23-year-old guy, you know. And as time goes on, you may find another period of your life has got a little bit more substance or is more relative later on down the line, you know.
Now, if you're a drummer listening to Stairway to Heaven, the first half might feel pretty quiet.
What I'd learnt about John Bonham, that he could be really effective if he came in somewhere down the line on the song.
That showed incredible restraint to let the band go through 3 or 4 verses or whatever before even entering.
The patience and restraint that he has, knowing full well of what he's capable of.
Another thing, like Bonham, who has chops for days, also knows when to lay back.
Bonham's drum entrance is precise and one of the most memorable parts of the song.
What he played, it was absolutely the perfect part.
After all that, he comes in with 8th notes. Considering the headroom and the chops of a Bonham, comes in with 8th notes. Wow.
And when the drums come in finally, it's just great.
And so everything is starting to open up on this map. And all of this stuff was planned, you know, it wasn't just an accident or everyone chipping in. It was just, it really was a sort of design.
Unlike other Zeppelin songs, Stairway isn't packed with relentless bass drum grooves or busy drum fills. But that's exactly what makes these drum parts so impactful. Take the first full verse where the drums come in. You'll notice right away he starts playing with dynamics, adding ghost notes and sneaky accents into those subtle snare drum fills.
If there's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alone there. It's just a sprinkling for the May Queen.
From there, Bonham makes a subtle shift. He moves over to the ride and locks into a groove that's full of space and dynamics. You'll hear ghost notes sneak in as the chorus builds, and Bonham also starts shifting his accent placement in the fills, laying into the ride cymbal at times, and adding some subtle variations that keep you engaged through the entire section. Now, from personal experience,
nothing crazy, right? Well played, Brendan, of course. Brendan's a monster drummer, by the way. Nothing crazy, right? No big even crash downbeats, a lot of anticipated sort of fills that don't really end. Stairway to Heaven, Stairway to Nowhere, sort of ambiguous. Where did that fill start? Where did it end? Just floating through the track. Beautiful drumming. It really is beautiful drumming. And a good example of my point before of he's not a basher. Bonham is he's just always plays the appropriate part. When he needs to play loud, plays loud. When he needs to play quiet, plays quiet. When he needs to groove, he grooves.
I know how challenging it can be to learn and practice these parts when you have all 4 limbs working together at the same time. And because of that, we wanted to film a full breakdown of Stairway to Heaven that includes this ride cymbal part, the famous drum fills, the guitar solo grooves, and so much more so that you can confidently play this song in your own drum kit. You and I will practice each part together slowly, build up the tempo, and you'll be able to follow along with all the on-screen notation the entire time. We've also done this with our Genius of Tom Sawyer, Chop Suey, and Numa episodes, and tons of drummers are getting their practice time in and making some noise behind the kit. So if you want to check out these lessons, you can click the link down in the description, and you can try them out for free over on Musora.
As I said at the beginning, take my trial, 30-day free trial. I don't want to eat Brendan's lunch here, but I am a partner with Drumeo. You can take my trial, 30 days. Go check it out. Plenty of time to see if it's going to be a good fit.
Those snare fills aren't just timekeepers, they're part of the conversation. Some of them lean forward a bit, pushing the beat, others just sit behind and pull back ever so slightly. And that tension and push and pull creates a dialogue between the drums and the vocals. It's something uniquely Bonham, and to this day, drummers are still chasing the feel that he played with on tracks just like this one. Even John Paul Jones noticed Bonham's unique feel early on when they started playing music together. Bonzo would play Beatles songs and many other songs and sing and play drums because all the phrasing has to do with the lyrics. If you ever need to know the words to a song, ask the drummer. We also had a love for James Brown and soul music in general. I don't really like rock drummers because they're all a bit tippy-tappy with nothing really booty underneath and no real understanding of what James Brown called the one. Bonzo did. As the song pushes towards the bridge, there's even more momentum building. Here Bonham locks in with the guitar riff using his huge toms on the kit.
Magic. Absolute magic composition.
So as you may know, there's a lot of debate around this part and the phrasing of the bridge. And here's how Mike Portnoy described it.
I still to this day don't know how to count the setup to the guitar solo. Bonham had this knack for making really strange things feel so natural. What is
like
it? Where is
Dog.
the one? Where is the feel? And then even
Black Dog, a really good example of that, which I've also done a cover of, note for note. Check it out. Got the counting, everything. It's easier song than it appears, but I could imagine, especially at the time, a lot of the stuff really just bamboozling drummers.
and he finally get it, and then he changes. But just when you think you knew where it was going, it goes someplace completely different. And man, that's the beauty. John Bonham was
magic.
Just the king.
Now, a lot of people think this entire section is in odd time signatures, and sure, you can write it out like that, and it looks pretty ridiculous when you're jumping between bars of 3, 5, 7. It does make sense when you consider where the chord changes are and where the cymbal crashes are, but you can write this all out in 4/4 as well, which makes life a lot easier. And now we're into Jimmy Page's guitar solo where things really take off, and that's what we're gonna dive into next.
Increasing the intensity.
It's real music, like it's not just to a grid and on a click, like you feel it go up and you feel it soaring and it just has this energy.
When we get to the guitar solo, Bonham's not just following the music, he's pushing it forward. You can hear him start building a more detailed groove, all while locking in with the bass in this super syncopated way. And if you listen closely, you'll start to catch those signature doubles on the bass drum creeping in. They're subtle at first and a little bit tough to hear in the studio version, so we've transcribed straight off the isolated drum tracks so we get all those details that Bonham played. And then Bonham launches into two of the most iconic drum fills in the entire Led Zeppelin catalog. The first one happens around the 6-minute and 20-second mark, where Bonham's using a hybrid rudiment called the Herta. It's this rapid-fire burst of notes that adds a really rolling feel to the fill.
That's a hard that one.
Like I mentioned earlier, we have a full breakdown of Stairway to Heaven inside the Musora platform, and this is...
Looking at that, I think my cover was off the Drumeo chart. Maybe not. I'd have to go back. It is a long... Was it some time ago now? Yeah, I think I've got to re-record my cover using the Drumeo chart. Yeah, Gotta do it. It's just so iconic.
It's one of the fills we dive into in that video where we can practice that Herta motion together. We can work on those John Bonham triplets because up to speed, this is a little bit challenging to play. So if you want to check that out, you can click the link down in the description and you can try it out for free. Just a few bars later, Bonham hits us with another epic fill. This time it's all about flams on the snare paired with 2 kick drums in between. And it's a pretty simple fill, but it hits hard and it's the perfect transition into the next section. By the time you get to this part of the song, you've probably felt that the tempo is increased a little bit. But here's the cool part. It's not some sudden jump or rigid tempo change. Instead, it's a really organic, emotional build, almost like the band is pushing the energy forward as the song unfolds. So the band starts around 72 BPM, and as the song builds, that tempo actually climbs up to around 95 BPM by the end of the song. And this was completely by design.
One of the cardinal rules when I was a studio musician was that you didn't speed up. And I was keen to do something which had an acceleration to it, not only from the musical point of view, but from the lyricist, so that the whole thing would start to gain a momentum as it went through. So it wasn't just a monotone piece. And by that, I actually mean that it would subtly speed up. So you're breaking the #1 cardinal rule.
And while
I love that. We could do a whole video on this. As a studio musician, you know, Jimmy Page, more than capable of playing in time. John Bonham, more than capable of playing in time. And I have heard and seen modern musicians almost snigger a little bit at, oh, well, there's a lot of speeding up. Of course they're meant to speed up. You think they're not capable of playing in time? Come on. As he said, breaking the rules. Now, this is how you do it. This is how you're supposed to do it. No, we'll do the opposite. We'll just speed it up. And not speed it up a little bit. This was like 20 BPM or something. Noticeable speed up. Which is crazy to me, because then you think of like back to like classical pieces of music and all that. They always had that as an added emotion and an element of the music. Of course you want to be able to do that. Crazy to think that we put all these shackles on ourselves as players, as bands. No, we have to be on the click. We have to do this. We have to. No. Play. Express yourself. Be yourself.
Some may think speeding up is always a bad thing. That just isn't the case.
It was feel, you know, it's not something that you can calculate. Just play for the song and be in the moment and not be afraid to push and pull. I think that's the beauty of those old recordings from the 60s and 70s. You know, there's that real natural energy.
I like different tempo changes. I mean, you're in the moment, you're feeling the emotion, and it's real, it's raw. It's amazing.
Certain things, you need that natural push and pull.
Stairway to Heaven wouldn't have that energy if it wasn't for it going up there. You know, if it just stayed on the grid, like, it would be boring.
I've never looked at Stairway to Heaven on a grid, but I don't think it would work. It has to flow. It has to have that flow, and it does accelerate as it goes, but it's a perfect piece of music, just like classical music isn't all at a static tempo.
There you go.
Once we're into the final verse, listen to how Bonham locks in with the guitar riff. It's not just a straight ahead rock groove where he's playing the snare on beat 2 and 4. It's a syncopated groove that weaves between the kick and snare with these 3-beat phrases. Also pay close attention to the groups of 3 notes Bonham plays on the snare at the end of each 2-bar phrase. You want to make sure those ghost notes are played low and quieter, and that backbeat still pops through even though it's in the middle of the group of 3 notes. And then we get to the end of the final.
Those ghost notes after the backbeat, really tricky, really, really tricky. They add almost like an echo effect, and it adds a lot of depth to the music and the drumming. Brennan nailed that.
Verse where Bonham shifts gears again. We have these huge cymbal crashes with these snare drum fills, and at times it almost sounds like the recording is going to clip because Bonham's playing those cymbals with so much power. This is Bonham creating a finale that's powerful, spacious, and unforgettable. Now, in my opinion, this is the perfect way to close out this 8-minute masterpiece. Now that we've broken down what Bonham plays on this track, let's dig into Bonham's gear that he used to make it all happen.
Man, these guys cover everything. It's brilliant.
The recording of Stairway to Heaven isn't just legendary because of the song, it's because of how it was captured. The Led Zeppelin IV recording session has become one of the most talked about moments in rock history. At this point in time, bands were starting to break away from the rigid, clinical vibe of traditional studios. Ultimately, they wanted freedom. And Led Zeppelin found exactly that at Headley Grange, an old country house with natural reverb, creaky floors, and the perfect atmosphere for inspiration, as other bands like Bad Company and Genesis had also found. To make it all work, they parked the Rolling Stones mobile recording van outside the estate, literally running cables into the house to capture the magic happening inside.
So this is the Rolling Stones mobile?
What a mess. What an absolute... I mean, you wouldn't get this today, right? This is a lot of hassle. It's a lot of expense. Everything runs on such a tight ship. Yeah, which brings us back to why we don't record like this anymore and why things are on click and why things are on the grid. It's fast. You can fix it. And yeah, let's just keep it going. I don't want to go there.
Truck. It's gold for the old audiophile. It is fantastic sounding.
The Stairway to Heaven session wasn't just another day at the studio, it was one of the most intricate recordings Zeppelin had tackled up to that point. This song is packed with layers, textures, and a wide range of instruments that gives it that epic, evolving sound. But I know what you're really here for. You want to know what drums John used on Stairway to Heaven.
Super fun.
Now, there is some speculation as to the exact kit Bonham used on Stairway to Heaven, but the best account we have of what he used on this track comes from the book Beast, which came out a few years ago. And it talks about how after some big paychecks in the late 60s, Bonham bought his iconic sparkle green Ludwig kit, which replaced his maple kit. He used a 26 by 14 inch bass drum, and he paired it with a 14 by 12 rack tom and 2 floor toms. The first was a 16 by 16, and the second was an 18 by 16. He also had a full set of Paiste cymbals, and of course a 14 by 6.5 Ludwig Superphonic.
I've got that exact snare, but the 5-inch depth. He had the 6.5, and I believe Alex Van Halen had the same. I don't know. I just like 5-inch depth.
That's what she said.
Snare drums.
Which is still a staple for drummers around the world to this day. But even when you get all the gear right, it still doesn't necessarily sound like Bonham.
I've always thought that a lot of the sort of responsibility for that sound is on Bonham himself and how he plays. Nowadays you can do a lot with a performance in the studio. And I think on that record, and obviously all of the Zeppelin records, like the raw sound that you're getting is sort of down to him because of like the way obviously they recorded stuff back then.
We've talked about the drum parts, we've talked about Bonham's gear. Now let's talk about why Stairway to Heaven still matters over 50 years later.
I mean, I went to see the first Zeppelin show at the Marquee because I'd seen John Bonham play. He was amazing, John Bonham. And I started to follow what he was up to. And I just sort of, my mouth was open. He did things with his bass drum, Strawberry.
John Bonham just so happens to be the best rock drummer ever and my personal favorite.
He was an integral part of Led Zeppelin, not just a drummer.
Readers of the Melody Maker have voted them the top world group. The significance is that the Beatles have held this title for 8 years. But now, the Beatles are out.
Led Zeppelin!
It was really an inspired period of time. It sort of shows, I think, the lasting quality.
The heart performance of Stairway to Heaven at that award or honor,
5 minutes later.
Kennedy Center Honors, 13 years ago it was uploaded here. Well worth a look. If you've avoided it for any reason, well worth a look. It is phenomenal.
Of this music over all these years is the fact that everyone's playing so honestly and with such conviction that it sort of shows.
The greatest rock and roll band of all time. Yeah.
Stairway to Heaven isn't just a great rock song, it's one of the greatest of all time. Even though it was never released as a single, it became the crown jewel of Led Zeppelin's 4th record, which went on to sell over 37 million copies worldwide. That puts it in elite territory, being one of the top 5 best-selling albums in music history. And the legacy doesn't stop there. In 2012, the band was honored with the Kennedy Center Honors, a celebration of their lifetime achievements and lasting impact on music. What followed was a truly unforgettable tribute performance, Hart covering Stairway to Heaven, joined by Bonham's son Jason on drums. Watching him carry his father's torch in front of the surviving 3 members of Zeppelin is one of those full circle moments. Proof that this song and Bonham's playing still resonates across generations. In 2007, Jason also joined Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, and John Paul Jones at the O2 Arena in London for what would later be released as Celebration Day.
Ooh, that sounds good too.
Jimmy Page once explained that, "I thought Stairway crystallized the essence of the band. It had everything there and showed the band at its best. It was a milestone for us. Every musician wants to do something of lasting quality, something that will hold up for a long time."
Led Zeppelin Stairway to Heaven, you know, another
one of my favorite drummers.
The drumming on that song is just pure perfection. The drumming on everything John Bonham ever did is just pure perfection.
Led Zeppelin was like...
That's actually a really good point. Imagine every drum performance that you ever did was just perfection and like a signpost in the history of drumming. It is pretty mind-blowing, isn't it? I mean, what a phenomenal drummer. And you know, because you've got all these other phenomenal drummers just saying, I mean, he's the best. He's the best.
The first real band that I got into and I obsessed over John Bonham. Like, he's one of my biggest drum heroes.
I suppose I could talk about any Led Zeppelin thing and how much I love it, you know.
Bonham is the greatest of all time to me. It's just like what he does in a song like that when those drums come in and just how beautiful and big, you know, it's just something that's never been recreated again.
In a way, he came up with the idea of just like, and my way of hearing it is bass drum forward. That gives everything a sort of a weight.
If you have a moment with either someone else or just a moment where you're watching the sunrise or something, it's one of those moments that this piece of music, if it connects, it's going to connect fully into every vein you've got going and make something inside. Your little atoms are stirred by it. Your being. It's one of those songs that actually connects with your being.
Well, there you have it, the genius of Stairway to Heaven, a song that's more than just a rock classic, it's a rite of passage for drummers. What John Bonham did on this track wasn't about speed, chops, or complexity, it was about feel. He didn't just play drums, he told a story. Every groove, every fill, and every rest had purpose. So before you go, make sure you leave a comment below and let me know one thing that you've learned from listening to Stairway to Heaven and John Bonham's drumming. And also stay tuned for the next episode in the Genius of series, where we're diving into Enter Sandman by Metallica and what makes Lars Ulrich's drumming on that track so important. We also have a full breakdown of Stairway to Heaven inside the Musora platform, where you and I can practice every single part we've covered in this video slowly together. We'll increase the tempo incrementally, and we'll have all the notation on screen so you can get every single part locked in. If you want to check it out, the link is going to be down in the description, and you can try 7 days to Musora for free. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.
Yep, beautifully presented by Drumeo, by Brendan and the whole team over there. Just, you know, what you'd expect, the type of quality you would expect from Drumeo. And just one more time, if you missed it and you've skipped to the end to get my feedback, perhaps, you can pick up a 30-day free trial on me over at Drumeo. and you can check out all these resources over there. There's a lot of Drumeo resources for free on YouTube and whatnot. You got no idea what's available for you over on the actual site. I think final thoughts, and this has already been a long video, obviously, so just some quick closing thoughts. I think the magic of the drummer, the band, and this particular song, this I guess is seen as their magnum opus. You might have a favorite song, especially if you're a Led Zeppelin Bonham fan, you're going to have a different favorite song of theirs, I think, because this one is just, you can't avoid it. It's just part of music history, and it's going to be played forever, and it gets played a lot, so you can't miss Stairway to Heaven. But I think what it is a culmination of, it's like the best of everybody, but as a team effort. So I remember when I had Steve Porcaro from Toto on my podcast, and he talked about Rosanna as being, it's probably their most famous song along with Africa, but Toto represented the band. He felt that captured the band. You had the astonishing high vocals, you had Porcaro doing his shuffle, you had the honky tonk sort of thing, you had him representing himself with these crazy synth solos, you had Steve Lukather going off and doing a crazy guitar solo. Anyway, that is how I feel that's this. It's just got a bit of everyone and just the right mix, just the right seasoning onto the meal, and it's just, you don't touch it, it's perfect. And things went a little bit funky when you were baking the meal. Here, the tempo just, and you're not allowed to do that, you can't increase the tempo. It just worked. It's perfect art, and you just leave it, and you don't touch it, you don't remix it, you don't do anything. It's perfect. It's perfection. And that's what I think it is. It's just perfect art. Guys, thank you so much for coming along for a Zeppy New Year tradition on the channel now. And thank you so much to Suzanne Lash and Finesse Muse for getting this all kickstarted and going and doing it for 4 years in a row. Really special. Thank you so much for the support. Guys, until next time, take it easy. Keep chopping wood. Ciao. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. Remember, original video link, as always, in the description of each of my videos. Of course, go along and support the artist. If you are enjoying my channel, please do consider hitting that subscribe button, like button, and leaving a comment. It all helps me out. If you out there have a direct reaction request that you definitely want to guarantee gets on this channel, you can do so by supporting the channel and hitting that PayPal button. I do also have a Patreon. It's just $5 a month, and through that you get access to the blocked videos. And remember, you out there as a subscriber of my channel, you get access to a full and free 30-day trial over at Drumeo. Go and check if it's going to be a good fit for you and your musical education. And spoiler alert, it will be. Tell them I sent you. For my North American viewers, go check out the latest deals over at Sweetwater on my link. And for my European subscribers, go check out all my favorite gear selections over at Thomann. Until next time, take it easy. Keep chopping wood. Ciao. Oh, you're still watching? You should subscribe.
Where's the subscribe button?
On the left? Is it left or right?
No, isn't it the right?
Top left. On the right's got the video and the playlist.
Yeah, come on, man. Subscribe. Don't be a dick.
And then Drumeo too. Drumeo down the left, bottom left. You should do it. You should do that. It's good. And then on the right, videos you might like, playlist.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.